Hey everyone, I'm Madeleine Asheleigh, author of The Strangers We Call Friends, and you're watching Inside the Mind. It follows a lot of themes surrounding like friendship, betrayal. My favorite one would be whether or not justice exists without acts of vengeance, which I feel can tie into anything really outside of this. When we got into lockdown that one day in March last year, I was still in school. I was taking my classes online because, everything was shut down. And I started teaching dance from home. And I've always danced. I've been dancing for what now, 12 years. And it's always kind of the only creative outlet that I saw myself doing for that time. I never really like gave myself a chance to explore anything else like I did when I was a child. So being in the house, bored out of my mind, I kind of came up with this idea. I came up with like this visualization of what is now the opening scene of the book. And I just gotten my first Mac laptop, which I love so much. And I was playing around with it and I saw on pages that there are like novel templates. So I saw one for like an edgy young adult novel. And I was like, okay, I already have a plot. In the very least, I have an opening. I have the materials. I've got nothing but time. Why not? And I wrote a book. Max saw him with her. She saw him carrying her sister's dead body. She knows who did it. There's no possible reason that it could be anybody else, right? I didn't always grow up like reading Black authors just because I wasn't exposed to them as much in my community where I lived. And the ones that I've discovered now, I love their stories, like Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, like adore them beyond belief. But I'd never really come across a lot of Black murder mystery writers yet, in the very least. And I figured, well, if I've never been exposed to a story like this, why don't I just write it? If no one else has had the vision, why not? No one's going to do it like I'm going to do it, so I might as well be the one to do it. Heather knows how much this hurts Max. She sees how badly this loss is crushing her. She just doesn't want this to ruin the group's dynamic. They've been friends for life, so of course they're still going to stay that way, right? Okay, I firmly believe in trusting the process because if you don't trust the process, you're never going to see the end. And this was the testament to that because whilst it was cool writing it like while we were in quarantine, there wasn't much going on. It was the summertime. I had all the time in the world. And then the fall came. And of course, colleges were starting to open back up. And even if you were just strictly online, you still school. So whilst piling on everything that 2020 brought and gave with like school and then trying to write this book and trying to meet a deadline that I had for myself. And I was it. Like I was the author, I was the editor, I designed the book cover, I published, everything was on me. But I think the best part about everything being on me is that not a lot of people knew that this was coming. In the very least, my mom knew, my brother knew, and a few close friends. People that I know wouldn't say anything they wouldn't try to give me a realistic approach like, oh, you can't write a book, rah, 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 it's this and that. These are people who know that I already dream big, so they know that they have to support me even bigger because of the person that I am. And I played that really smart because not only was I allowed to get outside perspectives on the plot and kind of see how the audience would feel towards certain things, I'm still the only person who knows the whole book inside and out. No one but me knows the ending unless they've already read that far. No one but me knows how all of this plays out despite getting help. So keeping a really close circle and keeping it, for lack of better wording, a secret was probably my best idea because I tend to overshare sometimes. And it's like you get excited about projects and you kind of want everyone to know, and then it never sees fruition because you told everyone about it. And now there's not much motivation. So I would say, despite it being stressful, it was a lot more motivating to force myself to see the end because I've gotten this far. It's already written. I just got to edit it and make sure that my assignments are done, make sure that there are certain things where I don't drop the ball. But it was cool because with school, I was able to put a little bit more effort there and just, all right, cool, start off strong. That way, towards the end, if it dwindles, my professors already know that this isn't like me in the very least. So, as stressed out as I was, I did make sure to try and avoid as much stress as possible because it could have been much worse. But I would definitely say it was a lot more motivating than stressful, despite it being both. Sydney knows how hard it is for Max to handle this grief. She saw Max go through the ringer over this. She knows how ugly this could get if the truth gets out. But the truth can set you free, right? I pulled a lot out of me, and I can say it was probably the best thing because 2020 was a really growing year for me. I transitioned from who I used to be in terms of my mental health and grew into who I am now. And I think with my characters, you see that growth. Like I can say I'm most like this person, or this person has this type of, like, everybody has an aspect of me, but in different stages of life, if that makes sense. Carolina knows who really killed her. She sees how much Max hates him for what happened. She knows who did it, and she wants to tell Max, but she knows it would crush her worse than her grief. Protecting her feelings is much more important than her knowing the harsh truth, right? Because as I grew, they grew. And so that's why I'm really glad that 2020 was what it was for me personally, in the very least, because now I can look back at this book and just watch how that whole year panned out for me in the very, like, within like a period of 6 months, because that's how long it took me to write it. But it still shows significant growth, which I'm really proud of.